On December 1st, 1948, a man was found dead on Somerton Beach in Australia, leaning against a seawall as if he were just watching the waves. He was perfectly dressed, in top physical shape, but every single label had been meticulously cut out of his clothing.
Wait, like he was trying to erase his own brand? That sounds like a spy movie trope if I've ever heard one.
It gets weirder. Police found a tiny scrap of paper sewn into a hidden pocket of his trousers that said Tamam Shud, which is Persian for "it is ended." For 74 years, he was known only as the Somerton Man, the world's most baffling cold case, until modern DNA finally gave us a name.
So did the name reveal a secret agent, or just a guy who really hated laundry tags?
To understand the mystery, you have to look at Adelaide in 1948. The Cold War was just kicking off, and Australia was home to a top-secret rocket testing range called Woomera. The world was paranoid, and here's this guy on a beach with no ID, broad shoulders like a pro dancer, and a suitcase full of clothes marked with the name Keane.
Okay, so his name was Keen? Case closed?
Not even close. Police checked every Keane in the country and came up empty. They eventually realized the labels were likely a red herring, deliberately left there to throw people off the scent.
That's a lot of effort for a beach nap. What did the autopsy say?
That's where the spy theory really took flight. The pathologist found his spleen was 3 times its normal size, and his stomach was filled with blood, but they couldn't find a trace of any known poison. One of the country's top professors suggested it was a rare, fast-acting toxin called digitalis that leaves no signature.
So he's poisoned, he's nameless, and he's carrying a Persian suicide note. Is there a femme fatale in this story? There has to be.
There is, and she's the most frustrating part of the whole story. Months after the body was found, a man turned in a rare book of Persian poetry he'd found in the back of his car near that same beach. The Tamam Shud scrap fit perfectly into a page torn from that specific book.
Let me guess. The book had a map to the secret base?
Even better, it had 5 lines of capital letters that looked like a high-level cipher and a phone number. That number led to a local nurse named Jessica Thompson, who lived just 400 meters from where the body was found.
Finally, did she crack?
When the police showed her a plaster bust of the dead man's face, she nearly fainted. She looked terrified, but she looked the detectives in the eye and swore she had never seen him before in her life. She claimed she once gave a copy of that poetry book to an army lieutenant named Boxall, but the police found Boxall alive and well in Sydney, still holding his book.
This feels like a massive cover-up. If it wasn't Boxall, then who was the guy on the beach?
The case stayed frozen for 7 decades. People wrote books about Russian spies and secret lovers until 2022, when Professor Derek Abbott used hairs stuck in that original plaster bust to build a DNA profile. He didn't find a Russian assassin. He found Carl Charles Webb, a 43-year-old electrical engineer from Melbourne.
An engineer? That's way less sexy than a spy. Why was an engineer from Melbourne erasing his identity on a beach in Adelaide?
It turns out Carl Webb was a man in the middle of a total life collapse. His wife had left him, and he had vanished from his home. He was a moody guy who liked betting on horses and writing poetry.
So the code in the book wasn't a spy transmission?
Cryptographers now think those letters were likely just Webb's shorthand for betting on horses, or perhaps the initials of poems he liked. He wasn't a creature of the Cold War, he was a man who didn't want to be found.
If he was just a guy with a broken heart, why did the nurse, Jessica, act like she'd seen a ghost?
That's the twist that brings it back to the human element. Genetic testing recently suggested that Jessica's son, Robin, was actually Carl Webb's biological child.
Oh wow, so she wasn't protecting a state secret. She was protecting a personal one.
Exactly. In 1948, having a child out of wedlock with a man who wasn't your husband was a social death sentence. Jessica likely denied knowing him to save her reputation and her family. Carl Webb didn't come to Adelaide to sabotage rockets. He came to see the woman he loved and the son he couldn't claim.
It's almost sadder that way. We spent 70 years looking for a conspiracy and missed a tragedy.
It shows how easily we project global drama onto private pain. The Somerton Man mystery wasn't a puzzle of international intrigue. It was a portrait of a man who felt so finished with his life that he literally tore the words out of a book and made them his reality.
What's the one thing to remember about the Somerton Man?
He reminds us that even in the age of high-stakes espionage, the deepest secrets are often the ones we keep from the people we love. That's Wikipedia, every story on demand. Search your next topic at wikipedia.ai.